Everyone, this is Becky Baldwin. Tonight I want to talk about weight loss. I look kind of rough because it's the end of a day and I ran here and there today and my hair is a mess, but I wanted to get this out there. I'm going to talk a little bit about weight loss and how I lost 50 plus pounds. I started out and I weighed 238 pounds and I thought, how am I going to lose anything? I couldn't turn around in the shower. I couldn't reach down and tie my shoelaces. I had trouble getting in and out of the car. I'm only 5 feet 4 inches. I'm 64 years of age, by the way. But I weighed 238 pounds, and it was just, I sat on the couch all the time. I didn't have energy to do anything, except maybe get up and wash the dishes once a day. I was miserable. The moment of truth came when I fell and I broke my leg. It was just, I got my feet it was during COVID, and I heard that a friend had died a friend that I had made back when I was in college, when I was about 20 years old. And the person had died from COVID, and that upset me so badly. I had lost touch with them and everything, but it was still, in my mind, they were still young. And I was still young in my mind. So it was just horrible. Anyway, I stood up from the computer and I got my feet tangled up in the cords. And usually I'm able to hop out of something like that. All my life I've been able to hop out of things. I've been very limber. In my 30s, I got very involved with step aerobics. I was in the band in high school. And like I said, I could just hop out of something like that or any weight step out. But because of my weight, I couldn't. And I started to fall. And normally I could grab onto something, but my weight caught up with gravity. I mean, it just pulled me down. And there was nothing I could do. And that is the weirdest feeling when you know you're going down and there is absolutely nothing that you can do. So anyway, I broke the top of my tibia. And I didn't know for a month that I had. My leg was still swollen when I went to the doctor, and she said, I don't like that. So she scheduled an MRI. It didn't show up on the x-ray. And they found that I had broken the top of my tibia. So at that point, it was just going for physical therapy to get things back to normal. Anyway, when that happened, I couldn't turn around in the shower. I was just miserable after my leg healed. And it took about really a good year for me to get back to where I was with my leg. And I finally thought, I am so tired of my ears ringing and being overweight when I don't have to be. Nobody is paying me to do this. That I thought I would look into intermittent fasting and see what that was all about. So I looked into some of these online things. I think Noom is one, and I looked into that, but they wanted $200 and some, and I don't have $200 and some to pass around right now. I mean, I got my gas bill from this winter. Anyway, it's just always something, and so I decided to do it on my own. And what it amounted to once I got going was not eat for 12 hours. And what that simply meant was stop eating at about 8 o'clock at night and then not eat anything until 10 o'clock the next day. And I could do that. Now, at first it was hard, though, to train my body to get into that. And I would cheat every once in a while in the beginning by eating like a crouton. And that satisfied me because I was so used to having a midnight snack before I went to bed. So that was the hardest thing to do. And what kept me, and then I mean, talk about the kind of food that I ate. Then I decided to eat foods that were lower in carbs because I wasn't drinking water and I wasn't exercising the way I did when I was in my 20s. I wasn't going to jump around and dance around and do aerobics. And I couldn't anyway because of my knees. I mean, I weighed so much that my knees didn't operate the way that they used to. So I was just tiring myself out. And then I would get hungry, so that was self-defeating. So I didn't drink water, and I didn't exercise, I just considered the weight of the food that I was eating, that I was taking in my body. And I decided to cut out carbs as low as I could get. Now, I started in February, but it was much easier in the summer when fresh fruit was available and fresh vegetables. And foods like green beans are very low in carbs. Now, canned corn has some carbs, but I balanced that out. In the course of a day, some days in the summer, I would just eat a total of 15 carbs per day. And it's not that hard to do if you stick with things like ham and sliced tomatoes and green beans. It's not that hard to do. I would eat a sliced apple as a treat. That's the closest thing I got to carbs. I cut out potatoes and bread, and the weight just fell off. And I contacted a friend of mine, and I said, "Oh no, what am I doing here? I'm losing all this weight." And she said, "Well, are you on a fad? That can be dangerous." And I said, "No, I've just stopped eating." And when I do eat, I eat foods that are low in carbs. And she said, "You're fine then. That's just water. You're fine." So, okay, I stuck with it, and I lost probably 10 pounds a month. So now in the summer, for some reason, I couldn't get past 190 pounds. That is because I started doing yard work. And this is another reason why exercise kind of defeats the purpose with my metabolism. I started building muscle because I would work in the yard and lug the lawnmower around and cut vines off the old house. And that takes muscle, that takes strength. So I would want to come in and eat hot dogs with a bun. Now you can eat wiener. That's low in carbs. But when you put the bread in there, yeah, that's no. But see, I was eating hot dogs, wieners with buns. And so I just stopped losing weight. I maintained. I didn't lose any weight. I didn't gain any weight. I just maintained. And it was so hard for me to get out of that window from 195 pounds to 190. It seemed like it did. It took 3 months. Then even today, I'm just down to about 188 pounds. I have seen it go down, the scales go down to 185 pounds. So I'm between 185 to 188 pounds right now. The kind of foods that I enjoyed were fresh fruit. I mentioned green beans and sliced tomatoes. I learned to eat sliced onions raw. And it sounds terrible, but another thing that kept me psychologically on track was watching World War II movies. My father was a veteran and he used to tell World War II stories, but he would also watch World War II movies. And so I started watching them. And it's just so sad to see people in concentration camps and people that were fighting the war and they didn't have access to a refrigerator full of food. And that kept me on track. Seeing people that weren't eating, seeing people that, I would imagine myself in the survival mode. And that helped me stay on track. What is near and dear to my heart is the Holocaust. I just think that's just horrible. And I have a lot of sympathy, a lot of compassion for people that were involved in that. So I would end up watching movies about that. And that caught my attention and took my mind off the fact that I might be hungry. And I do want to say something about hunger. Hunger is just hunger. You don't have, maybe you have in your head, oh, I've got to have a pizza. I'm so hungry, I have to have a pizza. You have hunger, and any type of food will satisfy that hunger. So you may have this terrible hunger and think that you have to have French fries when you can eat some green beans and a sliced tomato, and that will satisfy that hunger. I've rediscovered sauerkraut and wieners, food that I wouldn't regularly like to eat. But I rediscovered that, and when I was dieting. And like I said before, the wieners are low in carbs, and you can eat those without the bun. You can eat those as much as you like, and they're not that bad. And instead of bread, I went to work, and I worked during the summer. And when we get a break for lunch, of course, I wanted to eat something. I worked from 8 to 4, and I had an energy level to maintain. I started getting flour tortillas and making a sandwich with that. You know, wrapping the ham and the cheese in there and the lettuce, piling on the fresh vegetables. And that would fill me up. Something else that filled me up, peanuts filled me up. And peanut butter filled me up. So if I couldn't stay on my diet at all, you do have those times when your body is just hungry. I would sit down and eat some peanut butter, just right out of the jar with a spoon. And I didn't get very far because you get a terrible stomach ache when you do that. After a while, when you lose weight, your stomach shrinks. That's the first thing. Anyway, with me, that's what happened. And it's very painful when you eat 2 sandwiches, when your stomach has already shrunk. So one thing you do cut out when you start to lose weight is the portion of food that you eat. And it's in the beginning, it's conscious. But once your body gets into this mode, it goes on automatic pilot. So you're not hungry. You can go, there's like an 8-hour feeding time, and you can eat what you want as long as, I stayed under the carb limit. I would go with 12 carbs a day when I was really in my diet. Then I went up to 50 carbs a day when I just couldn't pass up that cinnamon roll or that pecan twirl and popcorn. Popcorn is a good diet food, but it's a good diet food because it has carbs. It's a good diet food when you're exercising and you need to build some muscle. So when I was eating popcorn, I worked that into my carb limit for the day. And I'd like to think that I got my water limit, the water that I needed by the fresh vegetables and the lettuce that I was eating in a salad and on a sandwich. And I would eat cucumbers and fresh green peppers. I rediscovered all those vegetables in the grocery store, in the fresh produce area. One thing I do want to say, oh, never mind. I'd forgotten what it was. But anyway, I had so much that I wanted to say to you, but I do want to say that intermittent fasting, eat foods that are low in carbs, carbohydrates, and you don't have to drink a lot of water, and you don't have to do a lot of exercise. Exercise, you will want to eat something to build muscle, build strength. And actually, when you exercise when you're older, like I am, that builds up a craving and you end up sort of going off your diet. Try it without exercising and see how far that you get. And I wish you every luck with losing weight. Because believe me, when you can get into clothes that you ordered online, they cut them very small. So by the time you get them, they aren't even close to the size that you ordered. I was able to put those and wear those, fit into those. And that is such a good feeling. I went down from a size 20 down to probably a 14 or 16. It's just such a good feeling, and my knees are very happy. And I've been doing everything to avoid knee replacement surgery. And that's really all I have to say to you tonight. I just wanted to talk about weight loss. Well, thank you for being here, and have a great evening. Goodbye.